What's up YouTube, it's your old school expert and it is finally 2020, which means it's time for an update to my top 25 rarest and most expensive Yu-Gi-Oh cards in my collection. And we are going to get straight to it. We've got 25 PSA graded cards here and we're going to go through each one, go through the value and how rare they are. So PSA publishes a population report on all their cards, so we're going to go through that and let's get started. So starting off, we got number 25, Yata. This card, it has definitely gone up in value recently. It's a pretty high demand card, especially because a lot of people collect secret rares these days in PSA 10. So we've got a PSA 10 first ed Yata. This one's actually, when you hit the light right, it's foil all over the card, but it's not really showing, and that's fine. So this guy is worth about $600, and the population of 10s is currently 39. All right. Next up, we have Monster Reborn at number 24. Monster Reborn, this is a first edition LOB. It is Gem Mint 10, and this is the wavy print. As you can see, it's got the waves in it. So wavy prints are generally more desired and often go for more money as opposed to the glossy prints of first edition LOB. If you're not sure what that is, I have a really quick demonstration I could show you. These Flame Swordsmen that were sitting off to the side, one is wavy, that would be on the right. See the waves in the foil, and then this one is glossy, and you can tell because the foil's flat as opposed to wavy, and then when the shine hits it, it is much glossier. You can't even see it there. It just that gloss reflects so much, whereas the gloss on this is much less on the wavy one over here. So that is an example of wavy versus glossy. And then on the ultra rares, the name is a little bit lowered typically, but not always. So Monster Reborn wavy, this is about $650. And I definitely got most of these prices from sold listings on eBay, sold listings on Instagram. A lot of people sell on Instagram these days, so I asked for prices. What did something sell for? Gives you a good idea of what it's worth. So next up, at number 23, we got a kind of a surprising one. It is Tyrant Dragon from LOD. This is a population of just 7. So that makes it a pretty rare card. Now, it's not maybe the most desirable card. Not everybody out there is looking for a Tyrant Dragon. However, being such a low population means everybody who is looking for one, there are only 7 to choose from right now that are graded PSA 10 in our first edition. So this value is about $700, and again, it's a population of just 7 currently. Obviously, these populations do go up as more people grade stuff. And more people grade stuff because the values are going up, so it works out. Number 22, we've got Dark Magician of Chaos from Invasion of Chaos. And of course, it is first edition Gem Mint 10. And this awesome Chaos monster is currently worth about $700 as well. There are a couple of sold listings on eBay that were for about $700. So that's pretty much the going value for that. Next, we've got number 21, and it is Dark Magician from Dark Duel Stories, or DDS. This is the only card in here that has kind of a damaged case. It's got like a crack up here, I think. But it's not too bad. I just need to re-slab it eventually. Oh no, you know what? It's another card. It's not this one. All right, so moving on. This is a population of 81. There are 81 that have a PSA 10, and it's still pretty valuable, actually selling for about $750 as a PSA 10 from Dark Duel Stories DDS. Pretty cool card, and in my opinion, this is one of the best looking Dark Magicians ever printed. Very cool card. All right, let's break the top 20, starting with Dark Paladin from Magician's Force. This is the aired artwork that would have come in a pack. So if you opened a Magician's Force pack, which had a Dark Paladin in it, this is the version you would have pulled from the pack. This is obviously a first ed and Gem Mint 10. And the population is actually unknown because there is no distinction until recently between the aired artwork and the corrected artwork, which we'll get to later. So I didn't really want to talk about the population of these because it's not 100% accurate. And it's that way for some cards. But its value is about $850. It's gone up quite a bit recently. Just a few years ago, it was under $500. So number 19, we've got a little more chaos here. We got a Black Luster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. This is a very cool card, super nostalgic for me. And I used to play with this all the time. I mean, I can't even remember how many duels I won with this card. It was just such a trump card, such a boss monster for such a long time. So this is a first ed Gem Mint 10. The population currently sits at 40. So it's not low, but not high. And that puts it at about, I think this is worth about $900 according to recent sales. Next card, we've got Jinzo from Pharaoh's Servant. This is one of those cards which has a pretty high population for PSA 10s, first edition from Pharaoh's Servant, but it's such a nostalgic card. It's a card that people just absolutely adore, and how can you not? I mean, this card, whether you played with it as a kid or you just watched the anime, was such a boss monster. So these are definitely desirable and always will be. So the population currently sits at 51, and its value, according to recent sales, is right at about $1,000, which it's gone up a lot. I mean, I remember when these were like $200 to $300. So there you go. There's Jinzo at number 18. Moving on to number 17, we have Guy the Fierce Knight, and this is a wavy version. I will try to capture the waviness. There we go. You can kind of see it there. So this is the wavy version, and the wavy versions are definitely more rare, especially when it comes to Guy the Fierce Knight, than the glossy versions. You see a lot more glossies out there, especially in PSA 10. So a wavy first edition Guy the Fierce Knight, it's worth about $1,000. However, the population total is 45, but we don't know how many are wavy and how many are glossy. PSA does not distinguish, and that's fine because it's kind of like a niche thing that collectors like to differentiate. It's really just a printing variation. It's not a different set or anything like that. So the population overall is 45. We don't know how many are wavy. My guess would be under 20 because it seems to be about 40%, maybe 35% of LOB cards are wavy and the rest are glossy. So moving on to number 16, we got another LOB card. We got Trihorn Dragon. Again, it's the wavy version. And this is a first edition Gem Mint 10. I love seeing the old certs, but I do want to update my cases. I'm kind of waiting for them to create better labels. I really don't like the labels that PSA uses. They're kind of outdated. But anyways, this Trihorn Dragon has a population of 76. Again, we don't know how many are wavy, but the value is right around $1,000 for the wavy version. If you're talking the glossy version, it's probably more like $600 or $700. All right, moving away from LOB, we've got Dark Magician from Starter Deck Yugi. This is the card I was talking about that does have the kind of crack up here on the case. So the case is a little bit damaged. I need to get it, a new one, get it re-slabbed. But this Dark Magician has gone up a lot in value and actually has a much lower pop than its counterpart. So Starter Deck Yugi, Dark Magician, we're looking at about $1,000 for one of these. And the population is only 36 of the Gem Mint 10s. This actually, I believe it has almost double that many 9s. It's got a lot of 9s, but not very many 10s. So that makes it a pretty valuable card because it is pretty desirable. And it's the Dark Magician, the first Dark Magician that most of us owned as kids. So pretty nostalgic. All right, we are cracking the top 15 here. We actually have number 14, Chaos Emperor Dragon, the final Chaos monster in this video, and who does not remember how awesome this card was? It was just phenomenal. There was the combination with Sangan or Witch of the Black Forest where you would special summon this, blow everything up, get Yada and win. So it was pretty crazy. They banned it, and then it's now actually playable, so that's kind of cool. So anyways, first edition from Invasion of Chaos, Gem Mint 10. The population is 47. And you can expect this to go for just a hair over $1,000, probably about $1,100. All right, next we have something very different from what we've been shown recently. We got a TP card, Mechanical Chaser, Tournament Pack 1. This was the very first tournament pack, and it is the ultra rare, the only ultra rare from that pack. There are no editions, so there's no first edition for tournament packs. So let's see, there are 24 PSA 10s, and the value of this is just about $1,200 according to recent sales and then people's asking prices. You can't just go off asking prices because people ask crazy prices for some stuff, but looking at sold listings really helps. All right, number 12, we've got Injection Fairy Lily. This is one of my favorite cards on this list. This card is super nostalgic for me. It was a total boss monster. Yes, it cost $2,000 to use it, but it pumped it up to 3,400 attack. That could get over anything, or if you're attacking directly, that was devastating for your opponent. So I really, really enjoyed Injection Fairy Lily, playing this for a long time. It's number 12 on the list because the population is only 28, which is actually surprisingly high. Now, I've seen, I don't know, 3 or 4 that have terrible centering because, as we all know, Legacy of Darkness has awful, awful centering. So it's really hard to grade Legacy of Darkness, and this has a population of 28, and its value is about $1,200. Moving on to number 11, we got Morphing Jar from TP2, or Tournament Pack 2. This is another TP beauty, another ultra rare from the tournament packs. This has a population of 21. I think this was the third one that was graded, second or third one. And the value on it is around $2,500. It's pretty expensive. They're pretty rare, as I said, only 21 that are in Gem Mint 10, and it's a very desirable card. So we have Morphing Jar at number 11 as we finally ascend into the top 10. Starting with number 10, Gaia the Dragon Champion. This is a very, very cool card, super nostalgic. It's real shiny. I love how much it shines, the holographics there. That's just great. Look at that. Super cool. So first edition, Gem Mint 10. This actually has a pretty low population when it comes to first ed LOB. The population is only 29, and it is also worth about $2,500 according to recent sales, but there aren't a lot of recent sales because there just aren't a whole lot of these around. Number 9, one of my favorite cards in here, SDK Blue Eyes, Starter Deck Kaiba, first edition. So much nostalgia behind this card. I remember just a couple of years ago, these were selling for only about $500, and I thought that was ridiculously low considering the cost of other similar cards from the same era that are not as nostalgic. So right now, SDK Blue Eyes has a population of 69, which is fairly high. But this is the card where when most people think of Blue Eyes White Dragon, this is the card they think of. It was the first Blue Eyes that most people had, and it was the one that was, it came in the starter deck. It was easy to get, $10 got you this card. And so it's just insanely nostalgic. Plus this artwork is the artwork from the anime, from the original Blue Eyes. So given all of that, it has actually gone up quite a bit in value, and it's worth about $2,700 as a first ed PSA 10. Next, we have its cousin, the DDS Blue Eyes White Dragon. This has the highest population of any of the cards in this video. The population of PSA 10s currently sits at 122. There are so many of these, but it's such a desirable card, and it's no secret why. Just look at how beautiful that is. That card shines like no other. It's got crazy holographics, and it's actually pretty rare. They made a lot more of the other DDS, Salamandra, CRU, and Acid Trap Hole than they did of these ones. So, but there are 122 as PSA 10s, so that brings its value down a little bit from what it could potentially be, but it's still around $2,800. I've seen them sell for as high as $3,000, but I would say around $2,800 is a pretty realistic number. Number 7. Needleworm. This is an insane card. The population of PSA 10s is only 4. I bought this quite a while ago from a friend of mine who was a collector at the time. He was willing to sell a bunch of stuff. He wasn't really collecting all that much. He definitely regrets it now, but it is in my possession. It is really hard to price this because there are no sales. There are only 4 of them, and they really don't change hands. One of them is crazy off-centered, and if you're not sure what I mean by off-centered, I'm talking about the border where, see this gray area? It's supposed to be about even all the way around to get a 10. One of them is a 10, and the border is way off, like it's super big on this side, and on this side to the right, it was like tiny. So it was very off-centered and looked very awkward, but it got a 10, it slipped through the cracks. So there really are only 3 true 10s out there. I don't know exactly what to value it, but I've been offered a lot of money for this, so I will give you what I think it's worth based on what people have offered me for it, right around $3,000. I really hope more of these get graded. There are so many deserving collectors out there who deserve one of these, but unfortunately there are only 4 that are graded a 10 and then 3 that are truly a 10. So that's number 7, Needleworm. Number 6 is the Corrected Art Dark Paladin from Magician's Force. Now this card is more of a promo than anything. If you consider the story behind it, you had to pull the errored artwork Dark Magician that we showed earlier, and then you had to send that errored artwork because it wasn't supposed to be in that pack. You had to send that off to Upper Deck and they would have sent you one of these. Most people didn't do that, so they didn't make a whole lot of these and they didn't really hand them out. But they did eventually in 2012, one of the former employees leaked a whole lot of these that were just sitting around, and they weren't very valuable until people started catching on and realizing, oh, this is more of a promo and it's actually pretty rare. So these initially had spiked up to just something insane like $5,000–6,000, something like that. But now that the population has drastically increased of these errored artworks, or sorry, these corrected artworks, it's now worth probably around 3,100 or 3,200. It could go up, it could go down, but it's just a hair over $3,000 from the last sale. There are lots of sales of these because there are lots of them out there. But yes, the population, it's really hard to determine because until recently, PSA did not distinguish between this Dark Paladin and the error Dark Paladin. So this is number 6, I believe. Yes, number 6, Dark Paladin errored artwork. Or sorry, corrected artwork. Moving on, at number 5, we've got Dark Magician Girl. So this is, not to say I don't like this card, but it's really one of my least favorite cards in this entire video because it's cool. It's cool artwork and all. It's too bad they censored it, but you know, it is what it is. However, I don't think it's all that special. I don't have a real like nostalgic connection to it. So that's just me, but obviously people disagree because this card's pretty valuable. So when you look at its population in PSA 10 for first edition Magician's Force Dark Magician Girls, we are looking at about 66 of them currently, and it goes for about $3,200. So it is a pretty rare, pretty expensive card, but it's not something that I'm super crazy about, and I don't know, it's one of those cards where I feel like it should be worth a little bit less, but that is what they sell for, about $3,200. All right, so we are in the top 5. Let's look at number 4, Dark Magician from LOB, and this is the Wavy version. So this card is extremely expensive, just like any LOB card. It's crazy how much LOB has gone up. I really am not, I'm not really digging it because it makes it hard for a lot of collectors to get their hands on these rather than investors who have the money to dump on these cards and try to sell them for profit. So it's too bad, but it is what it is. You really have no control over that. So this Dark Magician from LOB, the population total is 57, but again, they do not differentiate between wavy and glossy. And I could speculate on what the wavy population is, but I just don't know. So overall, for a wavy one, I know of someone who paid a little over $5,000 for this, so that is what I'm saying it is worth for a wavy first edition LOB Dark Magician, right around $5,000. Moving on to number 3, it is my favorite card ever, the first edition LOB Redeyes Black Dragon. Again, it's the wavy print. I only collected in PSA 10 the wavy prints. I sold off all my glossy prints. So wavy is more nostalgic to me because that's what I had as a kid, and I'm a collector, I'm not an investor. So this Redeyes Black Dragon, there are 63 total. We don't know how many are wavy, but we can guess probably 25. I don't know. I would say it's got to be less than 25. You really don't see them come up for sale that often. And then this is worth about $6,000 for the wavy. You could say a glossy is probably worth about $3,000. There's a pretty big difference when it comes to this card between glossy and wavy. All right, number 2, this one's kind of weird, so I apologize, but number 2 is the Exodia set. I'm just gonna lay it out here. Let's see if I can make it look pretty. All right, I guess we'll just do that. All right, Exodia is obliterating right now. So here is a first edition wavy, all wavy set from LOB of Exodia, the Forbidden One. And individually they're worth right around $1,000 for the limbs. Some of the limbs are worth more. Actually, the right leg is worth the least amount. This is probably about $800. And then the whole left side are much harder to find. The populations are lower. I don't know exactly what the populations of each of them are, but I do know that there are only 3 complete sets in collectors' collections that are wavy first edition Gem Mint 10 for everything. So that I say that this set has a population of 3, and as a set, because I would never sell them individually, it just wouldn't be worth the money, but you could make a lot of money selling this as a set. You're looking at about $7,500 for all 5 pieces. So again, individually, they're not crazy expensive, but when you put them together, people really, really like first ed Exodia sets rather than pieces. So it's worth more as a set. And yeah, about $7,500 for all the wavy pieces. The glossy pieces are much less expensive, and there are tons of them for sale. But the wavy ones, you almost never see them for sale. And that leads us to our final card. Many of you probably already know what it is. It's not very climactic, but it is what it is. It is the Blue Eyes White Dragon PSA 10 first edition from LOB, and it is the wavy one. So this is the card where the disparity between wavy and glossy is just such a big difference. You're looking at maybe a $5,000 difference between wavy and glossy, which is just insane to me that this card's even worth that much, let alone the difference between the two. So the population is 85, but we know of about 18 to 20 that are wavy. And then there's another, I think, 10 to 15 that are unknown because we haven't been able to track them down and find out if they are wavy or glossy. So you could reasonably expect around 20 to 25 are wavy, and about 60 to 65 are glossy. Obviously, that makes the wavy ones a lot more rare and generally more desirable. So this card has shot up like crazy in price recently, and it's, again, a little bit unfortunate for those collectors out there who haven't got their hands on one yet. But for the PSA 10 version of this card, you could reasonably expect about $15,000. Some value it higher. Some say this is worth about $20,000. I haven't seen a for sure sale of that amount, but I wouldn't doubt it. But I know at least $15,000 is what this card would sell for. If I listed it on eBay for auction or just sold it privately, I could get $15,000 for it. So that is it, guys. That rounds out my top 25 rarest and most expensive Yu-Gi-Oh cards of 2020. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, hit me up. Instagram is the best place to find me. Link in the description. And as always, stay tuned for more awesome Yu-Gi-Oh videos.